Welcome back, brothers and sisters. My name is Landon Father Doom Gus, your basement-dwelling RPG nerd, preacher of all things homebrew. And in this video, we're continuing our full read-through of the Book of Monster Psalms, my Kickstarter book from last year. Gives you 1,000+ new ideas and ways to make your classic RPG foes even cooler than they already are. In our last video, we did the infallible angel takes the form of, so we gave you a couple ways to describe what angels look like if you don't want to just do a winged mortal. But today, we're doing table number 2. The infallible angel smites evil, so 1d8 means to smite the wicked. Basically, 8 new epic abilities or ways to describe how an angel would beat the living snot out of your character should they become a little too murder hobo-y. So, you can snag a hardcover copy of this on the church's website. There's about 30 or so copies left, as well as the PDF if you're more interested in that. But let's jump into it and let us pray. Idea number 1. The infallible angel smites evil with desecrated holy weapons that smoke and wail in their divine grasp until bathed in the blood of an unforgivable heretic. I have the perfect mini for this. I have to show off as part of this video. Check out that dude. Look how cool that is. This is a print from Bastarium with a simple head swap from what was actually meant to be a Space Marine bit, something you could put on top of their power pack or something, but I like that it had the same smoky fire effect kind of coming out of the mask, and he's dragging these 2 huge broadswords with him. So imagine your party has committed a sin. They've looted a temple, they've committed some murder hobo-ness, and this angel descends from the heavens with 2 blades sheathed at their side. Or maybe, here's an even cooler idea, as the party's walking down this road, these 2 blades fall from the sky and sink down into the earth, and the angel descends between them and says something like, "I have come to claim the damned souls." And as they grab the swords and begin to pull them up out of the earth, they scream and squelch. I almost imagine they make the sound like when a blacksmith is working on a sword and they dip it into the oil or the water and it kind of... It makes that exact sound, right? Like something like that. And it's only, the idea says it's only after this unforgivable soul has been slain that the flames will go out. So maybe the angel is also in agony as they are wielding these blades. Like they are being a divine being, a celestial, they take on the pain and the suffering and the heresy of just being in the presence of the sinner brings them horrible discomfort, and that is what drives them to cut down the foes of their gods with these smoking blades. And maybe, just to put a cherry on the top, the flames that billow off of their swords are, you can see the faces of all the damned souls that they have cleaved and cut down with them, burning and wailing, and that's where the smoke is coming out of, and your characters might be soon to join them in that. Idea number 2. The infallible angel smites evil with but a single glance of their uncompromising eyes. Nothing can survive longer than 1d4 rounds in its line of sight. And I do have another mini to show off for this one, just because it's also so cool. Look at this dude. Look how cool that guy is. It was another Bastarium print that the head swap was it had a head of David on there, but I had this chest bit of a Space Marine Centurion that has these machine guns on either side, and I added this little antenna power pack thing on the top of it. Look how cool his wings are, super ornate, and I guess not gothic, but Baroque maybe. And then his spear, I wanted it to look even more sci-fi, so it has this laser sight thing on there, so he can either blast beams out of it, or maybe he can target creatures with it and throw it. But the idea in this one was that you can't be in its sight. The divine vision of this angel is enough to reduce mortals to ash. And so that could be, if you're playing in just high fantasy, they have these glowing bright white eyes or golden orbs that are able to just kind of follow this creature. And if you're not able to get out of line of sight, if you can't hide behind something, or if your allies can't distract it or pry its head away, then you're just save or death type effect. Could be very interesting. But you guys know my world, I combine sci-fi and fantasy a lot, so maybe it is just what you see on this mini. He's got machine guns on the sides of his head that, as he's just following creatures, it's just shooting out like a Gatling gun. Or I've been playing a little bit of Breath of the Wild lately, and the Guardians in that game have that crazy powerful laser thing that can target you from super far away. So maybe if you're fighting this angel, he's just kind of scanning and watching you, and it's building up power. And if you're not in cover, if you're not out of line of sight by the time that timer ticks down, then from the sides of his head, these 2 death rays just lance across the battlefield and can just incinerate you or target with a disintegration spell or something like that. Oh, so cool, so deadly. Honestly, probably one of my favorite minis I've kit bashed to date right there. Idea number 3, the infallible angel smites evil with conjured vortexes of inescapable winds that steal the breath and fling dangerous debris about the battlefield. So maybe this is an angel of the tempest, and if they're out on the open seas, it descends or maybe even rises up in like a whirlpool of water and lightning and air that is threatening to like tip or capsize their ship, or just a general angel kind of anywhere. Maybe their wings or their jet packs, or whatever, kind of going back to the sci-fi idea. But as they're flying, just a passive ability they get anytime they're flying is that they're kicking up these incredibly powerful winds, and you could add a bunch of things on top of this besides the fact that characters need to make some sort of strength save, or just get thrown back over the edge of a cliff, over into the lava, off of the celestial tower up in the clouds. They're in the kingdom of the heavens. They get blown off the top of that, right? That would be really cool. But also, I mentioned that it kicks up dangerous debris. So maybe the characters are exploring an ancient battlefield, or they're in some ruins, and there's suddenly is this angel's delicate wings, like with the slightest flutter of one, it can send a huge chunk of rubble just flying across the battlefield, threatening to crush characters. Or I think a cool defensive ability, sort of passive with this too, is as long as an angel is flying, then it creates, what's the spell? I can't remember what it's called, but it kicks up enough winds that no ranged attacks can hit it. Arrows, spears, anything like that just get blown away, have no effect on it. So that fight, if you want to defeat this angel, the linchpin, right, to have victory here is you got to get it on the ground. As long as it's flying, it's going to be almost impossible for your melee characters to get to them without risking taking a bunch of damage or just getting blown away, and your ranged fighters aren't able to really target it unless maybe it's like some magical, target, and then it has to make a save type ability. But hopefully that's something like Entangle or whatever spell you can do to make it fall to the ground. I think that would be a very, very fun combat. Even honestly, that's a cool ability. You could give like anything. Give it to a dragon or something. That'd be cool. Idea number 4, the infallible angel smites evil with exalted blades that cannot be unsheathed until the angel has been spilled of blood. The more blood they lose, the more damage the blades inflict. So with this idea, I wanted to kind of share an idea of how your players might come into conflict with an angel. I think there was a comment on one of my earlier videos about angels of like, when would your party fight an angel? Great question. My thought is, you have an angel who was a servant of a dead god or a forgotten god, and they are in possession of some ancient relic, some sort of piece of some sort of item that they were entrusted to protect, and the party has to get it. The mage that they're working for says, listen, if we don't get this crown worn atop this angel's head, then we're all going to die. The demons are going to invade us. We need this crown, but they're not going to give it to you willingly, so you got to go kill an angel. Sorry. And then the party has to go up and make this really dramatic decision. That's one way you could bring your party into conflict with an angel outside of they've committed a terrible sin. There's some murder hobos, and the angel has been sent to seek out vengeance for those that they've wronged. So, but I'd be curious to hear from you guys any ideas you have of how to bring your party into conflict with some angels. Anyways, coming back to this idea of the exalted blades, what if they don't even have like swords? It's not like they are sheathed per se. The idea says they're sheathed, but what if the blades actually form from the blood that is spilled? The party's barbarian or the paladin or even the cleric, dramatic, kind of guts this angel with their blade, tears streaking down their eyes, and the angel's just like, why? And then they start to weep blood from their eyes, and the wound is also gushing out blood, and all of that starts to not flow down, but flow up their chest, down their arms, into their hands, and the blood forms these divine weapons. And as they spill more of their blood, as they take more damage, that's why the swords do more damage, right? It's not because the blades are getting bigger or like their god is blessing them with more ability. I mean, it could be that, but I just think this visual idea of the angel getting paler and kind of stumbling across the battlefield and coughing up blood, all of it is coagulating into these huge weapons that they're just slashing into characters, making huge wounds that then the characters are losing blood that maybe gets pulled into the blades. Like, very Dark Souls-y sort of vibe with that one. But I also had an idea of how you could use this idea without needing to bring your party into conflict with the angel, because that might not be super realistic. What if your party is needing to fight an archdemon or a lord of the hells, and this angel has been sent to accompany them on this fight? And maybe they're overpowered. Maybe this is like a fight that they're not expected to win, but the angel reveals to them, like, I need you, like, you have to kill me, or you have to fight me. The only way we're going to be able to defeat this demon is if you do enough damage to me that I can, kill it with my divine blood. And if we waste time all trying to fight this demon, they're just going to pick you all off and then kill me. It's only if we do this together and we make this sacrifice that we can be victorious today. That would be very dramatic, very cool, especially, again, if you have a cleric in the group and they have to kill one of their angels of their own god. Oh, so dramatic, so cool. So that's idea number 4. And speaking of angels getting more powerful when they kill themselves, the infallible angel smites evil with their cataclysmic sacrifice. They collapse in on themselves, creating a sphere of divine annihilation that grows in density and power over the next 1d10 rounds. Your angels are walking black holes, or maybe they're like white holes, they're wormholes, right? If you want to go into the divine light idea, they take their blade and pierce it through their own chest, or they just begin to glow with this divine light. What would be actually cool with this is it becomes eerily silent. The battlefield becomes completely silent as this angel begins to grow, and this white orb extends out from them, just enveloping them, moving across them silently. That idea just seems really terrifying to me. It's not some like this huge explosion thing, and the party's able to like outrun it, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, and the angel is giving some death hymn, although that could be cool maybe as the build up to it. But I just think in the moment, to convey that this is a divine sphere of annihilation sounds like one of the most powerful, terrifying things that could ever be unleashed upon a mortal soul. And what's more terrifying than the silent stalking killer as this white orb is just expanding out? Almost, maybe if you wanted to give it a sound, maybe it's the breath of the angel as they die, and it just sweeps out across the land, and everything caught in its sight just disappears. The players will never see it again because it's gone to the heavens. I wonder what the fallout would look like from this. A divine sphere of annihilation. Maybe it just remains there, just this sphere of white light, and anything that steps into it, never seen again. They're just gone. It just becomes this like permanent scar on the land. Ooh, I like that idea, because then it serves as sort of a reminder of past sins. It's something that the clergy can point to and say, that is what happens when an angel is martyred. When they have to make the ultimate sacrifice, that is a scar that we will bear on our world forever. And that is why we have to be so careful. That is why we must cling to our faith and our scripture so desperately and abide to it, right? Oh, that'd be pretty dang cool. Idea number 6, the infallible angel smites evil by instantly inflicting an identical amount of damage on their attacker as what is done onto them, but only physical damage. So this is very obviously an OP as hell ability. Anytime the angel is hit by a weapon, they can immediately do an identical amount of damage without any save, according to how I kind of wrote this idea, right? It's just like the barbarian runs up, leaps into the air, and drives their axe into this angel's shoulder. Maybe they're a fallen angel. Oh, there we go. There's an idea of how to bring your party into conflict with an angel. They're a fallen angel, but the barbarian drives their axe into their neck or slashes it across their chest, and then they bellow out in pain as this divine white light kind of brands or sears them with an identical scar as the one they just inflicted on this angel, right? How the hell are we supposed to beat this thing except just let, I guess, the wizard and the sorcerer or whatever, they just get to do everything now? It's all up to them? Maybe that actually could be a pretty interesting battle now that I'm sort of pitching it that way, of like the barbarian and the paladin, the fighter, have to keep this angel distracted, or at least here in the middle of the battlefield. They've got to keep it engaged with them so that the wizard can keep targeting it with their spells, or maybe the cleric has been given some sort of, Rosarius type weapon that they can target this angel with abilities that do a bunch of damage. But if the cleric were to ever fall, they're maybe the only one who was able to wield this thing, so then the whole battle would be lost, right? So all the melee characters, like, we might have to make a sacrifice here. That is actually pretty interesting now that I'm pitching it that way. But if you don't want it to be that way, if you want to have everybody be able to participate, how could you do that? Maybe it's a reaction ability. maybe the angel can only do this as a reaction. So it still requires kind of all of the martial characters to be up there and all chipping in and all making attacks at this thing. But the angel has to use its first reaction, or it has to use its reaction against the first attack that did melee damage. And then that also means, like, oh boy, is the first character in initiative always the one who's going to have to make these attacks? Or are you going to have to kind of, people are going to need to be smart about where they are in initiative and kind of holding their actions, holding their turns. But then that could mean at one point the angel is always going first in every round of initiative. Man, if you've got a group that really likes their battle tactics and they really like to get into that side of it, I think this ability would be a ton of fun for them. Idea number 7. The infallible angel smites evil with a militia of shackled sinners and mutants who will kill without hesitation if it comes with the promise of freedom. Maybe your angels are like warlords. They march around with this congregation of shackled sinners and heretics, damned souls that they have saved. They've flown down into the hells and they've plucked them up to bring them up to the mortal realm to seek redemption. But the only way to do that is to serve as a warrior for their god. So the angel, I'm envisioning one who's very like, sorry for kicking the table if that moved the whole thing. I'm envisioning an angel who's very like smug, and they've just hover above the battlefield with their wings flapping, and they're dictating where these sinners go. Kind of, if this is a high level battle, then maybe they are like, it's a like literal congregation, a huge mass of zealots, and your characters are fighting swarms of sinners that are just like World War Z style, like piling up on top of each other to get to these characters. There's a risk of suffocating if you get enveloped by them, as they're all just trying to rip your eyes out and pull out your heart to offer it up to the angel. That maybe that's the thing they need to do to be saved. So they're all so desperate, they're like clawing at each other. Ooh, just had an idea. Maybe that's a weakness here. The party can turn these sinners against themselves, because if they are indeed like former sinners, then that's a fun way to play into their proneness to evil. Of like, you don't gotta just kill us. What if you killed that guy right there, right? Just strangle him with those chains, and then boom, there you go, you're free. That could be a fun little way to reward a character who tries to be clever about it or something. But I just think that, as so many of these ideas have done, kind of flipping the idea of a righteous, noble, beautiful angel on its head and making them actually something kind of evil, immoral, or at the very least like uncomfortable to deal with as a mortal. They are dealing with justice and divinity and good and evil at a divine scale that maybe it's just, in the eyes of the gods, this is just, but to us mortals, it's like, this is not what I would want to be like worshiping at all. I think that can be very interesting for angels, and what better way to emphasize that than having them fight with an army of enslaved warriors. And our final idea, number 8, the infallible angel smites evil by waking the young dragon they let sleep at their feet. Now this could literally be the angel like sits atop a mountain and there is a dragon that rests beneath them, but I think that's a little too obvious, and I think what would be fun about this idea is the surprise of it, the shock factor that your players will have when they're like, we're gonna have to fight this angel, and then maybe they have like golden like sandals that kind of go up their legs a bit, of like a serpent coiled around them, and when the battle begins, that serpent sort of comes alive and falls down off of their leg and hits the ground and begins to slither towards the characters. But as it does so, it gets bigger and bigger, and then it sprouts its legs and its wings, and this golden serpent is now a gold dragon that the characters have to fight, and the angel is just flying in the background, bellowing out commands, or just orbiting the battlefield, shouting out hymns to the dragon in its honor or something like that. Man, that would be so cool. And what I really like about this idea from a flavor narrative standpoint is, like, you know, serpents have a very prominent place in all religions, but like when I think of like Adam and Eve and the snake that whispered into their ears, or even in like Greek mythology, there was the golden fleece and there was the dragon coiled around its base. I think this was kind of maybe I think those two ideas were what were in my head when this sort of popped in there, of like, oh yeah, a dragon is the guardian of this angel, and then it's also sort of like a serpent or a snake is seen as this ultimate evil or this ultimate destroyer. Well, that's a dragon. Just smash those together, and now the party isn't fighting an angel. They're fighting a freaking dragon. And if you wanted to maybe foreshadow this a little bit more, then maybe the angel's wings aren't the wings, feather white angel wings, what you would expect. But if it is a gold dragon that's sleeping at their feet, then their wings are those of a gold dragon. Their eyes are gold, like a gold dragon. There's fun ways you could hint at this, but at the end of the day, who just doesn't want to fight a dragon? And then have to fight an angel after the fact. Like, good fucking luck. But that is the end of chapter 2, verse 2, the angel in the Book of Monster Psalms. So again, got a few copies of the hardcover left on the website. I got the PDF up on there you can go snag and have endless ideas of inspiration and ways to combine new abilities. You know, even in this video, I think I was saying, ooh, this would be cool to use for a dragon. Or this would be cool to do for something like that. This is just a great book, I think, to flip open to a random page and just see, how do I want to interpret this idea? I think it'd be a lot of fun. Also, other ways to support the church. If you're here at the end, I figure you don't mind supporting me a little bit, right? Pay your hobby tithing. Leave a like on this video. If you like the Crusade shirts that I wear in basically every video I ever film, there is an affiliate link down in the comment. You can get 10% off. They're a UK-based company. They make like the sickest t-shirts and tote bags and shorts, all of it with the Crusade brand. I just think it's the dopest thing. And the last best way you can support the church right now, besides joining the Patreon, is to go support the Doomed Stronghold, my current ongoing Kickstarter at time of recording. With a quick refresh right now, we have raised $1,817 out of a $500 goal. So we've already 3x'd my goal. We're checking off stretch goals. It's a bunch of random tables to help you flesh out and build cool strongholds to give to your characters in your campaign. So hey, maybe double it up. Go have a stronghold and then fill it with a bunch of monsters designed using the Monster Psalms book. But that's it for me. I love you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support I've gotten this year. January 2025 has been one of my, not best months in terms of viewership. Like, that was a long time ago. But it just feels like it's been one of my best in terms of work ethic and putting out just high quality stuff. And I think it's starting to show. And I appreciate all of you just coming back and watching and being a part of this RPG church of ours. I think it's awesome. So anyways, we say these things in their unholy names. Amen.